Hi, my name is Cameron Smith, and today I'm going to be doing a book review on the book I have just finished about a week ago. It's about, well, first of all, it's called All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Keeley. So the book was mainly about how, it starts off, it follows two boys, Quinn and Rashad. They both go to the same high school. They're both just a couple of regular All American boys, as you could say. Um, it basically follows these two boys through some pretty rough times, especially for Rashad. I'm not going to get into it right now. I don't want to spoil anything. That I'll get into that a little later in the video. But it basically follows these two boys, and it shows both of their different viewpoints about the same subject. Um, Mainly that went between Rashad. Happened to Rashad, and it happened because of an incident, and it basically follows Quinn because Quinn is related to this topic, or because of related to what happened with Rashad, because it was a close happened with a close family friend that he's grown up with, um, and it's a great book. It's great for kids that high school kids. It's a hot topic today in America, I believe, and it touches on both sides of this very hot topic, which is police brutality. Um, I think it's a great read for any high schooler. I think it definitely belongs in a high school library. Basically, I believe it was a great read. I think I would give it definitely a 5 out of 5 stars for sure. I don't usually get into books. I usually just kind of read books because I have to. But this is probably one of the first books that I've ever read that I've really been into and wanted to keep reading out of school. That doesn't happen for me very often, but this book really got me um, interested in it. By the way it was told, by the way it was narrated. Basically, the way it was narrated, it would switch off. Rashad would narrate the first chapter, Quinn would narrate the second, and then just on and on like that. And that really just interested me. I've never read a book that does that. And just all around, like the way they've touched on the police brutality subject and the way they've shown both viewpoints in the book, just really got me into it and definitely made me think, about the topic. Just like definitely opened my eyes to both sides of the situation, and it touched on it very well. So yeah, I definitely would give it a 5 out of 5 rating. Now to get into the more spoilers, if you don't want me to spoil the book for you, you should probably um, stop watching now. But basically, this book follows, Rashad, a black teenager, just a regular kid. He's in ROTC, military training. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. He's a great kid, and it basically starts off with him starting off going to a convenience store on Friday night, getting ready to go out and have fun with his friends. Um, and then he ends up going to look for a bag of chips or some food to grab before he heads off to go to a party. And this white lady, coming home from work, went to the store, tripped over him, and next thing Rashad knew is he's being dragged out of the convenience store by a police officer, which is later introduced as Quinn's close family friend, that he's grown up with. I'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, Rashad, next thing he knows, he's getting dragged out of the convenience store by this police officer that we're gonna soon get to know very well, and beaten very, very badly. He ends up in the hospital and eventually ends up staying in the hospital for more than half of the book with some pretty severe injuries. Um, and just to mention, Rashad didn't really do anything. he was carrying his ROTC uniform in a bag. I think he ended up trying to reach down and grab his phone out of his bag, and he had a bag of chips in his hand. And, it just went down from hill from there. But he had no intention of stealing anything, doing anything wrong. He was just falsely accused. Just wanted to throw that in there. And then it starts off the second chapter with Quinn. Same day, same night, same everything. He's planning to go out to a party with his friends. He went to the store to buy some alcohol or something. And basically before he could even get into the store, he basically witnesses Rashad being dragged out by this big police officer that looks very familiar, and he doesn't really know why. But this police officer, he ends up realizing that it is his, best friend, Guzzo is his nickname, Guzzo, short for Guzzolini. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but his best friend, Guzzo, his nickname, it's his older brother, beating Rashad on the sidewalk. Quinn is the only one that sees this. He's with his friend Guzzo, but his friend Guzzo stayed back. Basically, what ends up happening is he witnesses this beating going down on Rashad by his mentor, his father figure, since Quinn's dad actually died years before this book is based in the military. I think it was right after 9/11. His dad ends up dying. Quinn, I'm not sure if I mentioned Quinn, but he's also just an All-American boy, basketball player. The community kind of looks down and feels bad for him because they all knew his dad and knew what happened. So they're all kind of looking, feeling bad for him, even though it's years later. And so Paul Galuzzo, the police officer, is basically took over as Quinn's father figure, mentor, basketball coach, and him witnessing this has just blew him up, blew him away. He didn't really know what to do. And this whole thing with what they both happened to him, basically just, for Rashad, it's just an eye-opener, and he's just shocked, can't believe anything happened. And throughout the book, while he's in the hospital, it's just explaining what's going through his mind and why he doesn't really know why it happened. And his dad is very strict and believes that the cop was in the right because Rashad was dressed as just, as he explains it, I think a thug, just a regular thug. So, Rashad takes this pretty heavily and is very affected by what happened to him, not even realizing the effect it's going to have on Quinn and the whole school in general and the entire community. He doesn't realize how big this is going to get. While on the other side, Quinn is witnessing all of what's happening because of what happened to Rashad. He's witnessing what's happening in the community, what's happening with his friends, the school. Basically, there's a split in the community. One side takes Rashad's side, one side takes Paul Galuzzo's side, and everybody's split. The school split, the community split. Quinn himself is split. He doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't know who to believe because he's grown up with Paul Galuzzo and Guzzo, his best friend, and Guzzo desperately wants or needs Quinn to take his side because he feels like everybody is taking Rashad's side when Guzzo just believes that his brother was doing his job. And so Quinn is definitely basically split and is witnessing everybody's opinions and hearing everybody's opinions, and he doesn't know what to do. He thought that at first Guzzo and his older brother were the right ones. He believed that Paul Galuzzo, the cop, was just doing his job, and Rashad must have done something wrong. But throughout the book, it basically goes over, it basically touches on the black community, African American community, and their thoughts on everything, and the white community and their thoughts on everything. And Quinn is split. Rashad is also kind of split, but he also definitely does not think he did anything wrong and didn't deserve that. And basically, it just goes on, and the school puts together a big protest, and wants to spark something in the community. At first, Quinn doesn't know what to do. He wants to be on Paul Gallozo's side, but witnessing the effect it had on everybody, at school and the community, he believes um, that maybe Paul Gallozo's in the wrong and he needs to do something about it because he feels like, just walking away from all this would be wrong. Um, so he ends up switching from the Gallozo side, to Rashad's side, and that sparks a huge conflict between him and his best friend Guzzo. It sparks a huge outfall or downfall with the whole Guzzo family and Quinn's family, because they've been close family friends, and with this happening, basically Quinn's family wants to take Gallozo's side. So Quinn is on this on his own. He realizes that what happened wasn't right, and he needs to speak up with the rest of the school that's going to protest. Obviously, the whole school isn't protesting; they're still split. Everybody's split, but he believes he needs to take Rashad's side in all of this, along with a ton of other kids in the most of the community. Um, and Quinn also thinks that he wants to make his dad proud, and he believes making his dad proud, he needs to stand up for what he believes in, just like what his dad did. So basically, it keeps going on. With basketball, Quinn, uh, you know, is split because he wants to just focus on basketball and make the varsity team. But at the same time, he can't leave everything behind him, and neither can the whole team, because the whole team is also split, which sparks a big problem with the team. Everybody's split; they can't work together. Basically, another big part of the book, just because basketball is a big part of Quinn's life. Um, and a lot of his friends, all of his friends play basketball. They're all split; they don't know what to do, and Quinn just feels really split. But he ends up making his decision in the end to go with Rashad. A huge protest happens. They march down to the police station. You know, After Quinn had decided to take Rashad's side, they march. There's a huge protest, and Rashad ends up getting out of the hospital the day before the protest, basically going online and finding out about. I mean, Rashad has seen the news and he'd been on the news. People don't. A lot of people have different opinions on the news. He can't really handle that, so he tries to stay away from it. But once he gets out of the hospital, he goes home, he talks to his friends, gets caught up on everything that's been going on at school, in the community, on the news, and he's blown away, and he decides he wants to protest, not just for him, but for all the other innocent black males in the United States that have been falsely accused or shot or killed by a police officer, and he believes that's what he wants to stand up for too, even though he was kind of scared. So was Quinn. They were both scared about what would happen, or why do they need to protest if everybody else is going to. It's kind of, they're split about that also. But Rashad ends up showing up to the protest and protesting with all of his friends in the community. They're on his side. And at the end of the book, instead of having, I think by the end of the book, the authors pulled it together perfectly, I honestly believe, by after having them split chapters and narrate one chapter each, they pull it all together. They are talking in their minds at the protest, making eye contact with each other, and they're both narrating it at the same time as it's going on, and it just fits together perfectly with the whole book. Um, and I think it was a great way to end the book, honestly. So I do believe it's a 5 out of 5 book for me. It definitely got me totally interested in reading, which I'm usually not like a big reader, but I couldn't wait to get home after football practice to read this book. It just got me so intrigued in all of it, and I love the book. So yeah, that was my book review. 5 out of 5, great book. I definitely recommend you guys reading this book. So yeah, thank you.